Hey, Coach Miller of BTB Lax, and I want to talk about part 4 of Coach Starsia's book. I hope you will be happy. In previous videos, you can see I dug into parts 1, 2, and 3, which were all about leadership, his letters, and lacrosse. So part 4, like I just said, is about life. There's a few key takeaways that I want to dig into. All right. I touched on this in an earlier video, but he brings it up a couple times, and I think it's important to reiterate myself. And he asks, the question all the time, is it worth it? And what he's referring to, is it worth it to put in the sacrifices to play college lacrosse? You could also say to play high school lacrosse or club lacrosse or something like that, because especially college lacrosse at the Division I level or Division III level, whatever it is, it's a big commitment. There's a lot of work, but he unequivocally finds it is 100% worth it, because what you're doing is you're competing and succeeding in a competitive, stressful environment, and that helps you build confidence and that helps you do things in life even beyond as a lacrosse player. So, when you play in that stressful situation every single day, like getting up early, going to the workouts, you're getting yourself in shape, those types of things, it's like very important to, create, a well-rounded person. He thought a lot about leadership. He's got a whole part in his book about it, but he touches on and summarizes it again in the life section, because there's a lot of, he breaks it down into 4 different components that he finds are, big qualities for great leaders that he's come across in his life. And one is fearlessness, the second is selflessness, third is honesty, the fourth is work ethic, and then the fifth is self-discipline. So I want to touch on some of these a little bit. You may look at yourself right now and be like, oh, sometimes I have fear on the lacrosse field, but that's totally fine. I don't think that's necessarily what he's talking about. And if you read his book and you do what he suggests, there's ways that you can overcome fearlessness by, living in a stressful environment, competing, and seeing some little wins that I talk about in my blog, in my internal drive article about, getting those little wins, and it helps build your confidence a little bit. And then before you know it, the things that you used to be fearful of, you no longer are, and you can, easily overcome those barriers. And, he talks about being selflessness, and, you want to give, you want to be a good teammate. You want to, make sure you're looking out for your teammates and, be, respectful. Honesty goes without saying what that is. Work ethic. The thing he talks about work ethic a lot is like having a strong work ethic doesn't guarantee you anything. And I talk about this a lot too in my blog. It just gives you a chance. And if you combine that with other things that he talks about, like joy and like being excited, then you can really start to go places. He talks about self-discipline. And there's a way, you can say that you're self-disciplined. There's a lot of people out there that, talk about it, and you can have systems in place that help you become, more disciplined. But there's an internal drive component to becoming self-disciplined, and there's ways to grow internal drive. And I just wrote about it in my internal drive article, which I was like real motivated after watching The Last Dance, and it was talking about Michael Jordan's internal drive. And I started thinking about it, and there's a process that you can do to improve your internal drive, to do more stuff, to become more self-disciplined, to become a better lacrosse player or get yourself in shape or whatever, become a better coach. So he talks about that in the book as well. He has this personal standard of that he's got a large family. He's a father. He's coaching college lacrosse for over 40 years as a head coach at Brown and then University of Virginia. And early in his career, he was thinking, he would always come back to, if he had like internal debate about like some sort of action he was about to take, was what is the right thing to do in that given moment? Like, so he would look himself in the mirror and he's like, is this the right thing to do? And if he could say yes to that, then that's what he would do. And sometimes the right thing to do wouldn't be the easiest or, lead to immediate gratification, but he would always ask him that. I like that. That stuck with me when I read that. He talks about how he loves coaching, and I can see it because he's been at our Gonzaga practices and I know him, and you see the joy in his eyes when he's on the lacrosse field. He's like, just loves being out there. But he loved like the routine of coaching, and having that interaction with the players. And I know exactly what he's talking about because I feel exactly the same way. That's why I still coach, and being around like, the young players, young athletes who are competing to do something is like, it's like keeps you young, and it's like energizing, and it's like a really fun thing, and that's what he loved too. He talks about radiating joy, which I talk about, like he's just, being happy, being positive, speaking in that positive manner. And lastly, he talks, as coaching, he was talking about coaching, just like loving the moment. If it's snowing one day and you have to clear the field of the snow and it, disrupts your practice by 45 minutes or whatever, just, enjoy it, get what you can in, be present. People talk about that all the time. And this is another thing that I love that I just came across in an Inside Lacrosse article that I wrote a summary of as well on my blog. You can see the link right there, about Calvert Hall and Coach Kelly and how he has this rule about with his team in the locker room. Just a quick side note, Calvert Hall is one of the top high school lacrosse teams in the country. They were the #1 team last year, and they have a great program. And one of his rules for his locker room is the players can't have their cell phones out. And the reason for that is, I haven't talked to him, but I can just imagine the reason for that is because he wants his players to be present with one another. He wants them to have active conversations as opposed to having their head down in their phone. One of my favorite authors is Cal Newport, and he wrote Digital Minimalism, and he wrote Deep Work, and he's all about, how social media and stuff like that can be a huge distraction. So, I find it goes hand in hand with living in the moment. How can you possibly live in the moment if your hand's like looking at a phone the entire time? Whereas, if somebody's talking to you, you're not even hearing what they're saying. So loving the moment with Coach Kelly and Calvert Hall, like no cell phones in the locker room, I think that's unbelievable. I think every college program, every high school program should probably do that. I'm going to tell Coach Casey that right away. But anyway, this is an awesome book. I think all college lacrosse fans, parents, players, and coaches should check it out. And I look forward to Coach Starsia writing more articles because I'll read them right away. Coach Miller with BTB Lax. Talk soon. Bye.